Dr. Vonda Wright, before we dive in, I want you to take me back to the moment that you first realized that you might be in perimenopause. I'd love to
Mm.
know, because most of us, we're not sure. We're like, is this it? Is this what's going on? What were you thinking or feeling at the time?
Well, you know what? What the irony is that my entire academic life, I have studied aging and musculoskeletal longevity, right? So people who are doing it great through their lifespan. So I knew aging could happen, but I'm going to be honest with you, maybe I didn't think it was going to happen to me because I didn't have a biologic child until I was 40. I mean, I have 6 children because I married well with 5 beautiful children included, and then I had one of my own. And so I went from, okay, thanks, OBs, calling us geriatric.
Geriatric pregnancy, because it was 40, 41.
It was 40. It was almost 41.
Yeah, I was
And
41, so right behind
yeah,
you.
exactly. They're calling us this. But you know what? I was postpartum and breastfeeding and all that thing. So that's a lot of roller coaster of hormones. We go from high estrogen to breastfeeding. So I was rolling along, and now in retrospect, I have to be honest, I think I went straight from postpartum to perimenopause because around 45, things started to change. Like, I've always been an athlete, and it was easy when I would gain 5 pounds. I'm like, okay, I better got stop eating all the bad stuff this week. And I would go back to what my body was comfortable with. And suddenly that didn't happen. And I didn't know what was going to happen. So I said, but you know what? It always works. I'll do that later. I'll do it later. The other thing, I mean, I hope people laugh at this, is I was such an athlete. I would sometimes not have a period for 6 to 9 months. I was amenorrheic because I was so low body fat. Finally, at 47, I started having these really heavy periods a lot. And I thought, I mean, I'm going to preface this by saying, ladies, I am now an expert at this. But at the time, I'm like, oh my God, I'm finally a woman. My ovaries have caught up when actually my ovaries were dying and they were trying their frigging best and everything. So I got to that point and I was started to hot flash and I started to night sweat and stick my thermometer leg out. But I'm like, yeah, this is this, whatever. But it wasn't until I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I was sitting at a barbecue on the back porch with a nurse friend of mine named Kathy. What two perimenopausal women are doing outside on the porch in the heat of a Georgia summer, I don't know, but we were. And I started complaining to her, and she's like, Vonda, you've got to read Estrogen Matters because you're in perimenopause. I'm like, oh my God. So you know what? I sat on that for a while. And then I read the book and it changed my life because I identified with everything they were talking about. I read the data about the safety of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And really, because I'm an academic, I love to, stew over that stuff. But it took a girlfriend nudging me and saying, honestly, doc, this is what's happening to you, for me to really get on board. And then I became voracious because I could not live with the heart palpitations I was having that had me call Ricky Manelli, my cardiologist, and Ricky, I think I'm dying. So he puts me on a stress test because my family dies of heart disease. He's like, Vaughn, your heart's beautiful. Like, then why am I having these almost panic? I feel like AFib at night or not sleeping, or I could not remember nouns in the OR. I could say, give me the thing that does the thing,
Yeah.
the thingy bob, but I couldn't say, give me the Atson, the coker, the malleable. And I thought, I started looking up early signs of dementia. And so I then devoured all the books that I had. I learned what this was in a very rapid amount of time. And in doing so, changed my own life back because, like so many women, including women in my clinic today, I had a clinic today, they're just miserable and they don't know what to do. And I was miserable, but I have to tell you that by getting in front of it and becoming an expert and being so proactive, like I leave no stone unturned, I really feel that I've mastered this. And I give that as a message of hope to my patients because I'm a decade out of this now. I mean, I've been doing this a long time with my perimenopause, and there is light. You can find effective ways to feel like yourself again. So it's not all bad. It's just different.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I was taking my son, we were going on a bike ride yesterday after the long day, and his shoes, he's like, "Where's my shoes?" And they were in the stroller and in the garage. And I was like, they're in
Thing.
the garage. Okay. They're in the garage. And once I see the thing in the garage, I'll know what it is. And he's 4. I'm 40,
Oh,
about to be 46. So I had my son at 41. And this so often I am trying to have him go get something and he finishes my sentences because he actually knows the
my
weird.
words.
I was just like, thanks for being so helpful. But it is so destabilizing when your brain had been firing all cylinders. I studied in biochemistry. I was at a nuclear arms lab for a very long time studying mitochondrial dysfunction. And I've always been a researcher. And it's so weird to have operated with such level of executive functioning for so long. And then when you begin to feel that slip, you'd really start to wonder, like, what's going on with my brain? Why is my brain not working the way that it did?
Yeah.
Was there anything, that you would have loved to have been prepared for in perimenopause transition that you would have just loved to have known going in?
Oh, all the things. And so when I'm asked that question, and I call this the menolescence because I think it is the same kind of cataclysmic transition that we go through in adolescence when we get our hormones, all those things that we're so familiar with. That is the size of this transition. But the first thing to do is to become educated. So, my goal in a lot of the work that I do is so that the millennial women and my 30-year-old daughters will not hit a wall like I do. So, I wish I knew why menopause happened down to the science like I do now. I wished I had already evaluated whether or not menopause hormone therapy was right for me and what form of bioidentical hormones I wanted and where I was going to get them when the time came. Because after I was sitting with Kathy on the porch, sweating it out in Georgia, I'm like, well, where do I get these hormones? She's like, we got a guy in Chicago.
In
Right?
Chicago.
I'm in Georgia. We had to call the secret doctor in Chicago
Wow.
and do a phone interview. And he's like, yep, this is what I'm going to give you. And it was a miracle. I mean, within very short amount of time, my brain came back, my body aches. I mean, the arthralgia of menopause was profound in me. I could barely get out of bed, and that was never the case, right? I was sore all over. And I wish I had educated myself. I wish I had made my MHT decision earlier. I wish I had found a clinician to help me so that as I started to notice these things, I wouldn't have been like, oh, what's going on? My heart's dying, which it wasn't. I would slip right in. I would call my clinician. I'd get this. And because here's the deal, I view menopause hormone therapy not as symptom control. I think a
No.
lot of conversation, yeah, exactly. I know you agree. A lot of the conversation has to do with, oh, we're going to deal with the night sweats, the brain fog, the
Hot
heat
sweats.
hot
Yeah.
flashes.
Yeah.
But what it is prevention of bone degradation. Why should I only care about your bones after you've lost 20% of them and you increase your risk of osteoporosis almost exponentially? I mean, 40% of all women have holes in their bones. That's what porous bones, that's what osteoporosis means. And a high fracture risk. Why are we waiting, right? Until you lose that? Or why are we letting our estrogen receptors in our brain be empty and then our brain starves?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a decline
Starve.
by 25% in energy metabolism of the brain. That's what perimenopause is. A decline of up to 20% of bone mineral density loss by the time we're in early menopause. And so when women are having these hormone replacement therapy conversations, we're not taking into consideration that these are changes that are happening in peri.
That's right.
When we need to be having these conversations.
That's when we need to step in. I wish I would have stepped in about 45 when I was done breastfeeding. I had a few calm years and 47 was coming.
Yeah.
I wish I had all these things decided. So the minute I started, listen, I mean, your listeners know birth control is 10 times the dose of menopause hormone therapy, and so many women are on that. So even if you switch from one modality to the other and use something else for birth control, it's not more drug. right?
Agreed.
Yeah. So I view this as a lot of prevention, not just symptom control, including the heart, you know?
Agreed. Yeah, I
So,
mean, I think we're still at a time where obviously only about 6 to maybe 5 to 7% of women are on menopause hormone therapy or hormone replacement therapy. And, we're not accounting for some of the women that are on compounding formulas
yeah,
potentially.
we don't know. We don't know those. Mhm.
However, many of them are on these extremely low doses that are just mitigating the most kind of, what I would say abrupt or acute symptoms,
Mm.
that we consider to be, appropriate. I had actually, I was interviewing Dr. Aviva Ram for this series, and her brain came offline. And this is a woman very well researched, and she had those same moments where she's like, what if this is it? What if I'm not going to write another book? Like, what if my brain doesn't come back online and her sleep was so bad? This insomnia was so severe. So she goes to a primary doctor to get the hormones, and luckily not in Chicago, like where she's at. But her primary was on sabbatical and she got a sub. She got another primary doctor that she didn't know. This woman was in her 60s, 65 or so. And she was like, one, hormone replacement therapy, you're not a candidate. It's not indicated for the symptoms that you have. And two, you just need to suck up your sleep issues, like suck it up. And that was the answer she got. This was a year ago or less than a year ago.
Mm.
And she just had to, one, I think she was kind of smacked in the face of like, just deal with it, kind of the brush off, and
Well,
then had to really advocate for her HRT.
yeah. I want to read you something. This is one of the many things I was obsessed with today. There was an article that was put out in MedPage today about menopause hormone therapy. And this recurrent statement, hormones carry some risk, as if none of the other medications cause risk. So I quickly asked Meta, what is a list of other commonly prescribed medications that are associated, not causality, but have been associated with cancer? It's everything they give women. High blood pressure, SSRIs, hydrochlorothiazide, diabetes medicine. Are you kidding me? Every single drug has side effects that you must weigh the risk and balances. So I don't know why we're so obsessed with estradiol that our body makes for over half of our life. I mean, I
have some opinions and some thoughts, but I won't be sharing them here. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting when it comes to medicine. Well, hormones that our bodies make, women make, that are like, I think about estrogen being the master CEO of the brain, muscle protein synthesis, metabolic resilience. I mean, we're talking about it is a regulator of the immune system. How is this a hormone that is causing significant damage to us? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And yet we're keeping it from women.
Make a choice.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you have a right to suffer. If
Yes.
that's your choice, you do it. But not because you haven't been offered, not because you don't know, not because some patriarchal, listen, I'm an orthopedic surgeon. So 94% of the people I live with are men, bless their hearts, not because of the patriarchy. If you choose to suffer, you do you. That's okay. I don't let you, right? Mel says, let you. I'll let you, but I want you to know.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. 100%. It's interesting that a lot of women are, I think because of, I'm so deeply appreciative of the conversations, but a lot of women I think are becoming a little bit more afraid of perimenopause and menopause. And I love the mindset of, you get to decide. What would you tell these women about this fear?
Well, it's interesting you said that. I had a wonderful dinner last night with one woman who I know a little bit, an acquaintance, and two of her good friends. They're all executives, billion-dollar companies, but they're a decade younger than me. And we're planning this menopause event for our area. And as they were talking, this fear came out. This fear of loss of relationship, loss of brain, loss of sexual desire, loss of bone and muscle. And they're all reflecting on the way their mothers age. And it got to be kind of a downer at the dinner table. So I just stopped the conversation and I said, listen, I know it's hard and here's what we need to do. But I want to tell you, just like I said at the top of this show, once you get in front of it, this is one of the best times of life. More authentic, riding on the successes of doing hard things your whole life. You will be able to figure this out. So I don't want people to feel hopeless. There's a lot of work to do. There's no magic pill. It's not just hormones. It's an entire lifestyle, but you can master this. I feel like I feel amazing. And I can do the things I did when I was 35 and 40. I mean, I do Spartan races. I go to this crazy camp in the summer with my daughter. We carry sandbags up a mountain. So, age is not the reason. Menopause is not the reason we stop. There are other reasons.
Hmm. I want to hear about some of your non-negotiables, Vonda. You've got a very full life right now. You've got a book coming out that we're going to be talking about in just a minute. You're traveling from one place to the next at the moment, which is amazing. It's very full. I'm kind of living almost a very similar life. And I'll be honest with you, it feels like my head's on a swivel some days. I'm like, where am I running to? What airport am I going to? And so I'm curious, what are some of your non-negotiables for feeling like you did in your 30s, for feeling your best?
You mean lifestyle?
Yeah, lifestyle or just even mindset, like all of it.
So I think mindset is most important. And so when I think about this time, I return to what I value as a motivation. I value getting to do what I want to do when I want to do it without asking for help unless I want help,
Yes.
right? I value that independence. I value feeling strong and still, if I want to, lifting up my own patients across the gurney. I value that. Now I'm less proud than I used to be, and I let people help me when they offer, but I could do it myself if I wanted. So, what do you value? I value independence. I value relationship. I have more relationships with women now than I have ever had in my whole life. I mean, I really never had that many friends because I'm a different kind of woman. I mean, I think I don't know how to say this without sounding offensive, but sometimes high capacity, type A, running fast women are a little misunderstood. And I certainly have been. I say, you know what? My train runs fast. We're either on the train or we're under the train. I mean, and I don't know how to explain that any better, but at this point in life, the relationships I have at a deeper level are the best I've had in my life. And, you're a high capacity woman, you're a biochemist. I mean, you must have some of those so relationship matters. And I'm so thankful for them. Menopause hormone therapy matters to me, right?
Yes.
I do not go anywhere without it. I mean, I get a little panicked if I think my prescription's running out.
Right. Well, yeah, the timing of that, I pick mine up monthly and I'm always like, I'm not going to be, do I have enough patches to take with me?
That's right. Isn't it?
Because I did start HRT at 44, 45. Yes.
Oh my God, you're so smart. I love that.
I refuse to suffer needlessly. I did not sign up for the suffering.
There is no glory in it. I know wear it like a badge every day in my clinic. And I just think it's the sad way we've been indoctrinated with, I didn't want to come. I've got a really high pain tolerance. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't take it anymore. We don't have to suffer. And I'm so glad you made that decision. So I return to my values. I get my estrogen, progesterone, and my testosterone always are in my house. Non-negotiables also are magnesium to help me sleep at night, the nutritional things. So nutritional non-negotiables are, I prefer for myself and for the people I care for, a higher protein diet. I am hyper responsive to simple carbs, so I don't eat them. So it's all a fiber-filled diet. And I know that because I'm geeky enough to have warmed a CGM for a year. I know exactly what my blood sugar is going to do. And I know when I haven't been lifting enough because I see the baseline rising.
Yep, always. Yeah, your muscle, that metabolic sync. And if we start to lose a little bit of it, you will see that blood glucose rise, especially your fasting blood glucose in the morning. It starts to creep. Your variability becomes more variable.
Exactly. And so that's just another motivation. Oh my God, I really need to pay more attention. So nutritionally, those are non-negotiables. From an exercise standpoint, I was one of the Jane Fonda 80s people. I was growing up at that. I was in high school at that time. We're just doing all cardio all the time. I was a marathoner. Up until recently, up until COVID, I was doing Orange Theory, bless their hearts, which keeps you right in the middle of a heart rate zone that's neither metabolically efficient or stimulating.
It's definitely burnout zone is what I call it.
It's burnout. You're exhausted. I had to take a nap after I came home, but still not high enough to be truly
really illicit. Yes.
Yes.
Illicit response to those muscles.
That's right. So that's non-negotiable, basically brisk walking at a low heart rate. And I measure mine. I know what my lactate threshold heart rate is. And then sprinting like I'm going to fall off the treadmill. So we talked about nutrition, cardio, and then lifting. I learned to power lift at this time. The last time I power lifted, so push, pull, upper body, push, pull, lower body, was high school when there were no girls in the weight room. And the coach of the football team, Jean John, in Fredonia, Kansas. If any of my classmates are listening, they're going to be amazed that we're talking about Fredonia, Kansas. But he was giving out 200 club shirts to the boys who could do a variety of lifts. And I'm like, I want one of those. And he said, Vonda, if you squat 200 by end of summer, I'll give you one. And don't you know, I showed up in that weight room with the squat rack. I'm not sure my form was that good. Nobody taught me. That was the last time I power lifted until menopause. And I hired our strength conditioning coach to teach me great form. And so that's mainly what I do now because I want to build strength and power. I'm not working for hypertrophy. If I were, I'd lift a different way. Strength and power. So those are my non-negotiables.
I love it. How did you decide you wanted strength and power? It's very much how I train. I train heavy. I walk a lot.
Yeah.
And I do mini bursts of HIIT throughout the day. So if I can't do sit, if I can't do spring training, I will do HIIT. I'll do mini. So I'll do jump squats. I'll do plyo. I'll do mountain climbers. I will do push-ups. I'll walk up and I'll do kettlebell swings. So whatever's going to get my heart rate up for 2 to 5 minutes and then get back. Like I did 60 jump squats before this interview to get ready for us.
That's great. And your brain is so sharp because you did that.
Yeah.
Your question was
lifting heavy. So power and strength versus hypertrophy.
Why did I choose that? Here's why. Hypertrophy, let's talk about the 3 kinds. Our goal, no matter what kind we're lifting for, is failure, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're trying to build endurance. You're going to do the lightest possible weight the most possible times until you fail. So I had a lady come in who was trained to do 5-pound dumbbells 25 times until she failed. Like, who has time for that? Number one. But right, so that is endurance. If your goal is endurance, lift that way. If your goal is hypertrophy, then the 10 to 15 range is a good amount of reps. You're going to damage your muscle enough that during recovery days, you're going to build muscle and they're going to be big. But they might not be as strong. I mean, it's a very common gym thing to see the big bodybuilders not be quite as strong as the farm boys who are kind of a little scrawnier, but they're stronger, right? So I lift for strength, which means higher weights, lower reps. The range is 3 to 6, but I've been taking care of people for so long. They need me to tell them exactly what to do because if I say 3 to 6, it's just a little confusing. So I learned to do 4 reps, 4 sets, which means I can do 4 reps at my max weight. I can push up 5 if I'm doing a bench press. But I am not pushing up 6 without one arm toppling over.
Yes.
That is failure. 4 reps, 4 sets of the 4 power lifts. And then you support that with, let's take bench for instance. You support your bench with single muscle lifts, biceps, triceps, lats, delts. And you can make those a little lighter, 8 reps, 8 to 10 reps. You can do 6, 8, 10 in a little bit of a sequence to support that. But that will do 2 things. That strength will do 2 things. At first, it will reconnect your neuromuscular pathways. The way nerves and muscle works for your audience, one motor nerve sends out an axon to a bunch of muscle fibers. We need a bunch of those to contract at one time to be strong. It can't be all disorganized. It has to be everybody together now. That's what we're training initially, and it's called beginner's gains. So you might start this kind of lifting and get stronger, faster. And what you're really doing is just coordinating your muscles, right? Then you'll hit a plateau, and that's when your true strength happens.
Builds.
Builds. And so for people stepping away from the couch, I get this question all the time. I don't expect you to do this tomorrow. If you're a Pilates and yoga girl, I had a lady in my clinic today who had done 1,356 Pilates classes on a reformer. Bless your heart. That's great. That's great for core. That's great for flexibility and joint mobility, but not the strength we're looking for. Work your way up. It can take 6 months, 9 months. You will get there. Once we're established in our strength regimen, I want you to add some speed for power. Power is strength over time. Why do we need to be powerful? Because if you do not retrain or work on power, you're going to trip over your red work bag because you don't have the speed to fire quickly to jump over it, and you're going to fall. And most of us are okay until we
Until
fall.
we're not. Well, or when we're okay until we're not, and then we break something.
That's right.
50% of us.
People, that's right. Very few people break and then fall. Some do. They break and then fall. Many people fall and break. And so that's what power is about. And so, but no matter what technique you're doing, it's to failure. Just how many reps it takes to get there.
When I think about the values you shared a moment ago about the freedom. I always say I want the freedom to do what I want without having to negotiate with myself down the road.
Ah, really good.
And when I think about what you're talking about in terms of training, that is in full alignment of that value of freedom.
Yeah. I had a lady in my clinic today, and I honestly was befuddled because she had knee pain. No one pushed her through it. No one offered her therapy. I mean, she was older. She's in her 80s, but no one pushed her. She came in a wheelchair, and her goal was to walk again. And I sat there before her daughter. I said, it's been 2 years. We lose 9% of our muscle laying in bed, right? So it was almost like she had totally put herself behind the 8 ball. I don't know how I'm going to get her back. Well, we're going to start in water, but that's what we do. We accept some disability and then it just builds. I refuse to accept that. I refuse to stop doing what I love to do.
I was thinking also as you were breaking down, training and really powerlifting that power, right? And how mission critical it is to have that power, that muscle. I think a lot of women think that they're just going to build all this muscle. And I was like, it's the hardest thing to earn that I know of. Like, strength is earned. And so it's just know that it's going to take a minute and just be committed to doing it.
It takes
forever.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's forever. Bodybuilders, because women say, I don't want to become bulky. I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Bodybuilders lift specifically to be shaped that way. And then they drop their body fat. So for the definition, for a mere mortal, I mean, I have a lot of muscle, but I'm not the most cut person because I refuse to cut all the time. But we're strong, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I wanted to just share that because I wanted, I get that anyone is listening, they're thinking, oh my gosh, compounded push and pull movements, all these things. Like, you start where you start and just continue to progressively move forward. But just know that this is a continuum. I just want to make that clear. Like, this isn't something you're ever going to stop doing.
No, it's a lifestyle, not a program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. For instance, I have 3 grandchildren. My oldest grandchild, he's a powerhouse. He's 40 pounds. He's 3 years old. He's muscle everywhere. When I squat down and lift him up, that's what I'm lifting for.
I agree.
When I raise him up to the monkey bars, and he wants to let go, I'm strong enough to catch this kid. Mm-hmm. And so even if women don't want to squat 200 pounds, we need to squat enough to be functional, because that's what picking our grandchildren or our children is, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, no, my son is 36 pounds. He's a little bit leaner, little lean machine. Yeah. And we have 2 different, oh my gosh, now here goes perimenopause in the wild. I always say perimenopause in the wild when my brain was like.
Cute. That's really cute. Yeah.
We have 2 pull-up bars in our house.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah. So we have one set for my husband and I, where I'm doing grip strength, sometimes or doing pull-ups. Mm-hmm. And then we have one in between the door of my son's room where he can swing, play and pull up and do grip strength. And so it's, I love being able to either prop him up or pick him up or get off the ground or whatever it may be. Like I'm not only training for, I would say I'm double dipping. I'm training for my now self and I'm also training for my future self.
I love that.
And that's, I think, because a lot of times women, when we say, okay, 50% of women are going to have an osteoporotic fracture, maybe in their 70s or 80s, or maybe sometimes earlier, depending, or that 1 in 4 of us are going to end up in a home that's going to require care.
Yeah.
It's hard to be motivated by those statistics. But I always think about the subtle symptoms that so many of my patients are dealing with: the brain fog, the body composition changes, the visceral belly fat, the anxiety, the depression, all of this, the cacophony of symptoms in perimenopause. And some of them are really subtle symptoms of metabolic dysfunction and potential frailty down the road, like sarcobesity, like the way you talk about sarcobesity. Yeah. And I think that we can see this playing out in this window of vulnerability, this window of perimenopause. And I always think, well, how do I double dip, do the things that are aligned with my values now, that help me to feel more alive for my son and myself and all the things that I'm doing? And how is that actually future proofing myself down the road?
Yeah, I love that. How do I get done now what I have to do and it's effective for the future? Yeah, I love that.
And that way it feels motivating for, okay, I'm going to reduce symptoms now. I'm going to feel more alive now. And I'm setting the tone for the next 40 years.
Yeah, because what you've said, I love it. And I say it all the time and I write about it. I'm not writing a program. You're developing a lifestyle, right? It's not anything that says diet at the end or program at the end infers an endpoint. There's no endpoint until you stop breathing, right? This is a lifestyle.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah. Another question I want to ask is, when we are talking, I think we're talking about it right now, but I'm just from your take as an orthopedic surgeon, as a woman who's been studying longevity for so long, what needs to change in how we talk about perimenopause and menopause in medicine, but also in society and in our own minds? As I think about the conversation you were having with these women last night, right? About their own struggles, but also watching their moms struggling. And they're probably feeling it because they're watching their moms go through it right now. And they're just like, listen, I've watched that nightmare unfold and I don't want that for me. I also don't want that for my daughters. And so when we think about, multidiscipline in medicine, because again, perimenopause is multidiscipline. I think about it's a full body experience.
Whole body thing.
Yeah. And yet we expect only one discipline to even know what it's about. And so how would you like the narrative to shift?
Well, it's an interesting thing. I was talking to a hospital administrator the other day, and we're trying to create pathways for whole person care. But within usual structured medicine, it has to go under somebody. Does it go under women's health? Well, the population, when you say women's health, thinks only about the C-section incision and below. It's called the phalansteal incision. He was a surgeon. I was talking to him. So I'm like, we can't call it women's health because people then think it's only OB-GYN. Right? This is from the top of our heads to the bottom of our toes. It is also my position, as it is with many of us in the menopause, that it is unrealistic to believe that one discipline, the OB-GYNs, of which there are few, can take care of 90 million women while they're birthing the babies and doing the pap smears and all the cancer, the uterus and ovarian cancer, right? It has to be internists, family medicine. It has to be neurology, every discipline, including
cardiology as well.
Cardiology, orthopedic surgery, because I'll give you examples. When your body hurts all over and you show up at an orthopedic's office, 41% of the time, he's not going to find anything wrong with you and you're going to feel unhurt and gaslit, when the reality is you're just highly inflamed. Or when you have rapid progression of your arthritis after 50, you're going to be told typically just go lose weight and whatever, right? The reality is you need estrogen. So every discipline needs to have a pathway. I'm not saying orthopods other than me have to prescribe estrogen. I'm saying know the pathway. Who are you going to refer to? Don't just leave this woman hanging, because that's honestly when women, out of desperation, start doing a lot of stuff that could potentially hurt them, right? They're just trying to feel better. Yeah. So I think it's a whole re-education, a flipping mindset. It's whole person care, that women's health is whole health, all systems. And so I was suggesting to this health system that these pathways need to begin the minute a woman who has decided to have children is done with her last child. Or if she decides not to have children at all, in the critical decade, like 35 to 45, to get in front of it, right? We should plug people into pathways. So I love this phrase, the window of prevention, the double dipping you were talking about, so that we make the most of the window of prevention so that we don't wait till 52 when the last period has been gone for a year and you've already lost your bone and your brain and your heart, right?
Yeah, I mean, the research, I mean, as unfortunately as scant as the research is, as I was researching for my book, I was like, this is the window of intervention. By the time women get into early menopause, it's stacked against us. You know how much harder it is to lose that visceral fat? Do you know how much harder it is to gain that muscle and preserve that bone that you just lost? Do you know how hard it is to walk back that pretty serious insulin resistance and that the cardiometabolic status that you're in? Like, I was like, why are we talking about it at menopause? I was like, wait, and not to say that there isn't, now is the time of intervention, no matter where you're at in the journey.
Right.
But sooner that we can be on the preventative side before everything starts to fall into place, like that to me seems like the window of intervention.
Totally right. And that's when you said to me what I wish I would have known and done differently.
Yeah.
Sometimes people ask me, do I have any regrets in life? And I actually don't. I mean, I have no regrets because I love the way it is now. And changing something would change something now. But this I regret, not knowing what I know now when I was 43 years old. I could have changed the whole trajectory of my life. But better late than never. It took me until about 47, right?
Better late than never. I mean, I think about your 43-year-old self, Vonda. You had a 2-year-old.
I know.
I think I mean, I'm just doing the math. And I think about my past self when I had a 2-year-old and I was just trying to get by. I was still breastfeeding at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. Also, I felt like I had just turned a corner. I was feeling resilient. My period had just come back online and my energy was great. My biomarkers looked good. My DEXA scan looked good. And I remember I was like, okay, it's time to start really heavy lifting. And it was about 6 months in, I was training with, I think the trainer pushed me a little too much, but it was then I had like a 6-month window when the symptoms started coming on.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, what the heck is happening with me? And it was so jarring because I was really stacking the deck in all the things. And yet I started experiencing these destabilizing symptoms. And I was like, what is happening with me? And if you do the math, I look at the age, I was 43, about to be 44 that year. And when do women feel like they fall off a cliff in perimenopause? You know, and bingo, that would be it. And so, you know, just extra grace to you for doing all the things you were doing and having a young child and focusing your energy there. And us just, you know, reconciling kind of our bodies changing and not sure exactly what's going on. And I absolutely would have started HRT a little bit earlier had I really known what was happening, but grateful that I figured it out very quickly and began implementing interventions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I do appreciate you sharing that regret. And so I'm so grateful that you've got this beautiful book coming out, Unbreakable, to really help women. You know, do you talk a lot about that window of intervention in the book, or do you find yourself, you know, where you're helping women intervene as much later?
No, this book was written for 35 to 65-year-old women. And the things that I talk about are applicable to all, whether you're just arriving, you've already been here, or you're a baby boomer. Those women should be really mad right now, but they need to step in front of this. So it's applicable. But the way I've written it is to the women I serve. All the women, my women are smart. They're curious. I don't want them to do what I tell them just because it's another 6-week program, right? In fact, I was saying this to a marketing group. I'm like, yes, it has a 6-week program, but that is not what the book is about. So
you probably wrote that. You probably are like, here, yes, this is a 6-week program, but this is what I want. I want you to adopt this and adopt this for life. Because they always like a program. I've got a program in mind.
A program. Yep. And so I teach you in the first section, what are the time bombs of aging? What happens at a cellular level? Because I think if you understand a little more what actually a mitochondria is and how what you're doing enhances those, or stem cell rejuvenation, or what a telomere actually is, all these words we hear out in the stratosphere, usually as applied to men. This is a book that takes the science of aging and adds in the very, very real element that women age differently.
Yes.
Men age in a slow decline. They lose about 1% of testosterone and bone a year. Women decline 1% a year until they lose their estrogen, and it's a precipitous drop off. And that is not talked about enough.
Oh, it accelerates aging in its own right. It's its own root cause.
That's right. It's its own accelerant. It's like adding fuel to the fire. So I teach you what it is. We've developed my very smart machine learning data scientist research colleague, and I took the data on what are the top predictors of longevity, and we made a scale that is weighted. So at least people know where they're sitting so that when they intervene, they can see change. But something really important in this book is I do talk a lot about mental resilience, because aging is not for sissies. It is not for sissies. So we do talk about values and goal setting. And in the later parts of the book, we talk about how we can build mental resilience through control, commitment. And then in the center of the book, we take everything we've learned and I teach you a lifestyle that's been successful for me and the women that I take care of, because you have to start somewhere. And my goal is that they'll start with what I teach them and explore other places. They may say, I loved what Dr. Vaughn did here, but I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to do this other. I just want them to have a basis. So we spend the whole second section. But my approach to longevity, and this is what I found within the longevity doctors world that we live in, is that most of us do not skip ahead from fair health or dishealth. Like somebody comes to you, they're like, fine, I feel fine. I do not skip from there to longevity interventions only tested in rats. My approach is health optimization, and we're going to spend as long as it takes to get your biomarkers pristine, to get your insulin sensitivity under control, to teach you all the lifestyle habits that you can build from. Only then will I apply the cool stuff that we do with the pro athletes that I've taken care of my whole life. I'm an elite sports medicine doctor. We take care of really high level people. Everything in their lives is controlled. Well, we'll apply that to you, peak performing executive with high capacity, but not until your health is optimized. And then finally, when we do that, I am happy to discuss the difference between evidence-based and evidence-influenced and give you a very transparent conversation about some of the new things emerging on the field. But I find gadgets are so cool. People want to skip over the things that are really going to sustain them and buy some gadget which doesn't affect the whole body.
Yeah. I always say I don't major in the minors. I don't major in the minors. Let's focus on foundational first.
Yeah.
Because I'm walking back prediabetes in my patients. I'm walking back fatigue. I'm walking back, an overactive stress resilient, just overactive stress response system. Like I'm walking back a woman who's only clocking 5,000 steps. And so those are often, I want foundational pieces, non-negotiables, things that you can anchor to every single day that become the fabric of who you are and the fabric of your life. And then we can get into some of the more sexy biohacking.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Kind of cool, but not until, It makes sense though. I mean, people in every society want the max for the men.
Yeah.
They want the most out of almost nothing. I've never found that's the way it works.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Anything worthwhile, you're going to need to put the work in for it. Yeah. Everything that's worthwhile. I haven't ever found a cheat code towards
if you do, let me know because
it's gonna put in work. I mean, I don't sugarcoat it in any of the content I share, any of the advice. That doesn't serve.
No, you're right. You're lying to people if you say that, aren't you? Yeah, you would never do that, but you would be lying to people.
You'd be out of integrity. And again, if we're aligning with values, how are we in integrity in how we show up with the information, that is not only serving our patients, but also our community. Because women are hearing that. Women are doing the push-ups.
Yes.
They are,
aren't they?
They are. Right? I mean, that's
it's a worldwide phenomenon. I love it so much. Yeah.
I loved it so much. I am such a big fan of push-ups and having and assigning, prescribing push-ups to my patients. And to hear you talk about that on Mel's show was just, a chef's kiss. I just loved it.
Thank you. And the fact that women of all ages and skill levels and countries tried it. I mean, it's being strong is so unifying, right? It's the solidarity of strength. I love it so much. What's interesting? I don't know if you encounter this, but I would say 90% of all the responses to the push-up challenge were like, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try my best. Why are we stopping at 11? Blah, blah. I mean, it was just stories of trying and triumph. And then there were about 10% of people who chose to go down a pathway where they thought that I was belittling women or shaming women or telling them they're not good enough. And to that, I think that's part of what makes women suffer, right? That attitude.
It's the mindset.
It's the mindset.
Yeah.
And so, part of Unbreakable is to pivot that mindset from frailty of body, frailty of mind to, I don't know if I can do 11 push-ups, but I'm going to try. That's what Mel did.
Yeah,
she got right down there.
She did. It was so good. So good. It's interesting. I was at an event that weekend. I was helping to lead a women's event, and it was a Sunday, and there was about 40 women there, and we were doing push-ups. Okay,
that's so great. Yeah.
But there were women who were like, "It is a Sunday. We're doing push-ups on a Sunday." I'm like, "We're doing push-ups every day. Let's do push-ups at church." I mean, I'm all for it. And I was like, I do push-ups every day. And usually I'm doing push-ups with my son on my back, is usually that's what he loves to do. And I was really, I wasn't, because I had seen some of the pushback on that. And then I was actually seeing it in real life playing out, that women were like opting out of these push-ups, opting out of a 60-second plank. And I was like, it's what we all signed up to do here today, was to move. This was a part of what we're doing. It was interesting. It was interesting how we can kind of get into these ways of thinking that end up sabotaging us. And yes, that's what it is. It feels like a bit of self-sabotage.
Sometimes I almost feel, this is another conversation I was having, is sometimes without knowing it, we hold ourselves back. We're in our own way. Right?
Beliefs. Maybe your mother had said something to you that, you're not capable of doing that. Or maybe you used to tell yourself like, oh, well, that's not for me. Like, that's for those girls, but I'm not strong, or I don't do these things. And I want to honor everyone who's working through limiting beliefs to really show up for themselves and the people that matter, and show up for your life, because we are not these limiting beliefs that we believe. We're not these negative, intrusive thoughts that can come into our heads. And I just want you to know that all of us, at any point that we start in, that we are so deeply capable. What was deeply inspiring about that push-up challenge, I sent that interview to my mom, who is a rock star, 64 years old, running marathons and half marathons, training like a champ. She is just incredible. Her resilience, her cardiometabolic health is dialed. I mean, I'm so deeply inspired by her. And she I sent it to her. She was visiting a couple days later. We were in the living room doing
push-ups.
Yes, we were. And my son Kingston just thought it was the sweetest, the funniest thing. But and it was my mom who was like, "Hey, you want to do some push-ups?" I was like, "Anytime. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm game." And so, that's the kind of through line I think about when I'm stepping into my future self, is that, I see my mother. I see her thriving. I see her playing competitive tennis. I see her living her life on her terms, the way that she wants to live it, the energy that she wants to operate in. And that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm heading towards. And that means I get on the damn floor and I do the push-ups every day.
I love that. Yeah, that's me too. I want to live on my own terms.
Yeah. I think that's the most beautiful through line that we can share. Okay. We talked a little bit about the book, Vonda. Where would I know you are all the places right now. Where would you love us to tune into you? Where's the best place to find you right now?
Yeah. Every single day I make an effort multiple times a day to post on Instagram which then posts to Facebook. But I make a concerted effort either to share what I'm going through, to share the data, to share things I've learned over the last 30 years. So Instagram, Dr. Vonda Wright. I have a website of the same title, and many people want to work one-on-one with me, and they fly in to do it. If you want a musculoskeletal based approach to perimenopause and menopause with all the cool lactate testing, that's what we do here. It builds a plan for you to live the rest of your life strong. And you can buy Unbreakable.
And the book. Like if you need a starting place and you can't fly in to see Vonda, or maybe she is flying to London, I don't know, get the freaking book. Yeah. And if you don't want to read the book, listen to the book. Go and listen to the book. You just recorded it. I think you did.
I did. I just recorded the audiobook. So 8 hours of, I tried to be more mellow than this voice.
Oh my gosh. I literally spent the last 3 days in the recording studio as well.
That's not easy, right?
No, it is not easy. And to celebrate every chapter, I either did jump squats or push-ups.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. I was like, I need to do
so good. You need to wake up.
No, you're just sitting in that chair. I'm like, how do audio producers do this all day? Like, I just feel like it's got to be the most unnatural thing to do, to be in a dark room for like 6 to 7, 8 hours a day. You know, as I'm reading the chapter about movement is life and build your life around movement. And I just felt so sorry for this guy who was just in this seat all day long with people. I was like, I got to get out of here.
That's so funny. You're contributing to his insulin insensitivity.
I know, I felt bad. I was like, but I got to get this book done. So it is what it is. But I was just thinking to myself, as I'm sitting here for 3 days in a row, I was like, this is not healthy. Like sitting and looking at a screen this much.
I stood for that reason. I stood most of the day until I was just exhausted from doing it for that reason. Because, your brain will go to mush. So, but yeah, I'm so excited about it. Please think about Unbreakable, A Woman's Guide to Aging with Power, which is really longevity from the point of view of a woman.
I love that. We deserve that.
We do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you are ready to learn more about perimenopause and how to navigate with a lot of ease and grace, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can join our community. Don't forget to share this video with someone that you love, that you know is navigating the perimenopause journey as well, because they deserve to feel their best too. See you in the next video.